I do love it. I love this, being with you.
I love that.
And my KTSY family.
I love that, like, I'm living out my Channel 7, like, dream. The whole, like, I'm on the air with Dee Sarton.
Oh, and you know what? I am vice versa because, okay, so I did the news for so many years, and I
would ask how many years, but
Oh,
I'm afraid
you know
it's like
what?
asking a woman her age. You're not supposed to do that.
I'm
It's
going
not
to say
right.
it, though, because it was a lot. It was 40 years, Brian.
Wow.
40 years.
You must have started when you were 4.
Exactly. But I had such a wonderful career. Worked at Channel 7 during a really sweet time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, really, really wonderful time. We got to do so many good stories, so many good news things, and really be a part of the community. At the same time, though, I had to give an awful lot of bad news, you know, and that would wear on you after a while.
Yeah.
And I would always listen to KTSY on my way to work, on my way home. I mean, that's just my life. I mean, for I would say, how long has KTSY been on the air?
32 years.
Okay,
Yeah.
then it's been 32 years that I did that because that was just my routine.
Back when it was the teenagers and the high school students, and it was a little rough around the edges.
Of course, but it was then what it is now. It was hope, and it was reminding me on my way home from some pretty awful news of the day, because it's always out there, that this is not the end of the story. But I could never really share that on the news. You know, I couldn't really say the name of Jesus. I couldn't proclaim the truth in the same way, you know, that I can here with you right now. So thank you. This is my dream come true.
This is so fun. If you want to share, I'll kind of reset where we're at.
I do.
There's a lot going on, and Dee is such a friend of the station, and she's like, I want to come over and hang out. We're like, absolutely. So here we are. If you've been listening on air, kind of a miracle thing going on. Notifications should come up.
Oh, is that what I'm...
Yep,
okay, he's helping me share this on my Dee Sarton page. So.
KTSY. Oh, it's not doing it. Let's see.
My thing is weird.
So let me see. Okay. I'll find it.
All right.
But we were talking about, I'm going to multitask. It's what we do.
Yeah.
Usually just people don't get to see me do this. But what was crazy is you said, hey, we're 10,500 something from 50% of the goal. And we just said, we're going to start just counting it down. And we said, hey, if somebody gave a $5,000 challenge roughly, like, this would really propel us forward. And there's this amazing lady, family, that yesterday gave a gift. There we go. Share. There we go.
Oh, awesome.
And let's see. And it was such a powerful story of her own journey with God, because she's a farmer, and money is always just challenging when you're a farmer, from what I understand, and you're working on loans to pay. So when the lottery started in Idaho, she said, she started playing the lottery. She said, not to an extreme, but I did, because it was kind of my way to, if we win the lottery, we can get ahead. Like, everything will be good. We'll be secure. Hey, Grady, can you come in here for just a second? Grady's our producer. We're going to have him help us while we do this.
Oh, good, because I'm no help on the technology side of things.
She wants to share this to her Dee Sarton page. She put out a $10,000 challenge yesterday. It was a part of a miracle day. It was so good.
Amazing. Yeah.
And so she called in today, just a few minutes ago. And so they're in a $5,000 challenge. If you want to give right now, texting to 208-442-8950, text the word give, or just go to ktsy.org, or call that number. You can be a part of that $5,000 challenge. Your gifts will be doubled. We'll be past 90% of the goal. It's phenomenal. So that's what's kind of happening over there. Dee was on the air over there, and then I said, come over here, let's go on TV, because that's what you do. Like, that's your background.
Right. And you can talk about it a little more depth.
Right.
You know, so now, did she win the lottery? Is that what happened?
She never won the lottery. No,
didn't win the lottery.
God, this is what was cool, is God
I hadn't heard this part of the story.
God taught her. God kind of got her and said, look, money is a tool. Like a tractor, like a disc, like a shovel. It's a tool, but it is not security.
Oh, that's such a good
Money
good
is
thing.
not security. It is just a tool.
Yeah.
And she's like, now that's where I'm at. Like, that's so much freedom. She stopped playing the lottery because she wasn't trying to find that security any longer. And God freed her. And so she put down the $10,000 challenge, and then called back today with a $5,000 challenge.
Oh, that's the backstory. I'd heard the 5,000 a day. This is the same person.
Same lady.
Oh, yeah. I hadn't put two and two
together. She'd emailed and given the story on Wednesday afternoon, evening. We were able to use it yesterday morning, and then she called back with this on this kind of slowed down. Got to get through the hump and make the thing. So anyway, that's kind of the background. Dee,
lesson.
you really have something kind of on your heart because we live in some weird times, and being a person who used to be in the news, I'm sure your ear is always kind of tuned to what's going on in the world, and
Or not.
or maybe you've walked away from it completely and don't want to know.
I did kind of for a while.
You have to.
I sort of had to detox from
Yeah.
all of that, and frankly, I used to be a news junkie. I mean, it was my kids would tell you, if anything ever happened, like an accident involving, let's say, an ATV, I would then be, preaching to them about ATV safety for the next, 2 months. I mean, everything that happened. And then I would kind of get focused on it. For example, I don't know if you remember when Mary Shore and Dan Sullivan died in a plane crash, KTVB staff people. I developed an incredible fear of flying because not only that plane crash, which touched me deeply personally, but then we report on plane crashes, and you see that plane crash, for the next 60 days multiple times, and it just buries
in the edit
itself.
room.
Absolutely.
Oh, my word.
So I was really kind of living in a lot of fear and had to learn to somehow get rid of that. And that really is where KTSY came in and just helping in that. I said this on the air earlier, that therapy that I needed driving home from all of that to get back into reality. My reality with my relationship with God and with, my trust in Him, not in money, not in security and other things. So I've always been really grateful for that. And then recently with the partnership that we have with you, with our podcast, A Home That Heals, which is such a joyful thing for my daughter and me, realizing once again that this relationship with KTSY through all the seasons of my life, I mean, since my babies were little, you said you've been on the air 32 and a half years.
KTSY has, yeah.
KTSY. Brianne, my daughter, is in her mid-30s. So since the time she was a baby, listening to KTSY. So this has just been a part of my life. So anyway, so we've given, as, the monthly, what do you call it?
KTSY Champions.
Champions, yeah.
Yep.
And as I was listening to the stories this week, I really realized that I've been kind of comfortable because I have a lot of things I love to support
Absolutely.
and monthly and have kind of my budget and have worked all that out. And I was really hit by the fact that, comfortable giving is good. I mean, I don't want to be, negative about that. But uncomfortable giving, a little uncomfortable, can be really good. And so my husband and I were talking about it this morning, and we've talked about it during the week listening to the stories and realizing that, friends, I think it's gotten harder in some ways to share the gospel, but music is such a powerful tool.
Yeah.
Going back to this whole money thing is a tool. So a tool that I have is to maybe give a little more, kind of go a little more uncomfortably, double our monthly gift.
Wow.
And then
Thank you.
see what God has in store. Now, believe me, it's not, it's not a $5,000 challenge. I wish I could do that. I do, and maybe God will provide or lay that on our hearts at some point. But right now, He's laid on my heart that we can do that. And I wanted to just say, think about that. This is such a way that we can literally, hour by hour, 24 hours a day, be sharing the gospel and have a part in that. And so that's my little challenge is, can you double, or maybe not even double, can you tack on $5, a month or whatever you can do that would maybe just take you out of your comfort zone a little bit.
Just a little bit.
A little bit. Step out in faith. And these are trying times. I know that. I mean, goodness, the inflation.
Yeah.
But you guys are facing that too, and that's what I realized.
Yeah.
And how does God help KTSY meet those increasing needs? Well, it's us.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you, Dee. That's
Well,
so good. It reminds me of
fun.
something deeply biblical. By the way, if you want to do what Dee said, I must say this because I'm programmed. 208-442-8950, ktsy.org. I can say that in my sleep. And if you want to do comments or questions for Dee, feel free to put them in the chat. We've got it open right here so that we can respond and talk back and have a little bit of conversation. We love that. But it reminds me of something biblical. There's a story of David, I believe it's David, and there's a judgment for his sin that's going across the land. And he goes and he sees God moving, and he goes and asks this man, he says, can I can I buy this land to build an altar to worship God and to pray that he stop and give mercy? And the guy says, yes, have the land, have the animals, like anything you need, it's yours. And David responds with this profound statement, and he just says, I will not offer God something that costs me nothing.
Oh, yeah.
And when you were talking about uncomfortable giving, that's what kind of like I thought of instantly was that this is going to hurt a little bit, but that's when it's sacrifice. That's when I'm actually giving something to God. You know, we go through Walmart and you go to get 3 things and you come back with a whole basket full. Costco's worse.
So true.
You know, and we don't think about that. We don't pray about it, but sometimes we get really like, well, I need to pray about it. Is this the right thing to do? Now step into that point where it's like, no, this is challenging me. This is pushing me just a little bit. So thank you for that, Dee. I love that.
Well, I love that God is using KTSY, and I like to be where God is moving. There's nothing I enjoy more than hearing the stories that you're telling all week long. Every chance I've gotten, I've turned KTSY on, and I just have felt so filled. You guys must just love this week. I know you said you could say the number in your sleep. Have you even had any sleep the last week?
Not enough.
Yeah, it's
not enough.
crazy.
A little dragging right now. It's okay.
Great.
It's okay, but it's fun. I want to talk about the podcast for just a second.
Oh, fun.
This is so exciting because part of what we're doing, kind of behind the scenes with KTSY, you get the tea, the dirt, is looking at where everything is in media. Radio's still ministering to thousands upon thousands of people and more people. But we're all on these things all the time. Right?
Yeah.
We're listening to podcasts. We're going on YouTube. We're doing all the things. So we started saying, well, how do we increase our ministry to do the same thing? Our mission is very simple. Lead people to experience God so they impact somebody else's life. And so what can we – and so Dee and I were talking. I found out about this podcast, and God just led, and we have this partnership that we're doing this together. I love it. Like you said, Bree, your daughter, talking about I've been through all this stuff with kids, and I've gone to counseling and classes and stuff. And then I went, the Bible. It's got just some simple, practical stuff.
Yeah.
And it's the journey that you guys are going on in this. And I think it's so wonderful. Check it out. It's on all the major platforms. You go for podcasts, look for Home That Heals. And I think it's so inspirational. Tristy from the morning show was talking to me. She's like, I was listening to that podcast. It's so good. It's so real. She's like, I love it. As a mom, I just love it because it's so real.
A lot from Tristy,
about being
she's
just
so good.
parent. Like, right, that's the reality of what it is. Yeah. But man, moms, you get hammered. You have so much mom guilt, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I didn't do it right. And this podcast, what I love is that it's Bree, who's a mom in the battle, and it's Dee, who's the biggest encourager you've ever met. She just, being around Dee will make you feel good. You're just like, oh. And that's that encouragement in whatever you're going through, because raising kids is hard. It just is.
It is, you know, and I mean, all of us have our challenges, and especially I think the last couple of years, we've talked about it to where it's almost a cliche now to say, you know, those COVID years, but they have lasting effects on us. But what Bree and I have just really come to the conclusion through some of our own challenges is that God has created, He has ordained, and He will bless His homegrown therapy provisions that we can find out about in the Bible, and that sometimes we've forgotten because we are so busy. And that's been really our challenge, is to slow down, simplify, really get into the Word of God and just see, okay, this is ancient wisdom. This has been around long before COVID, long before the challenges that we face today. You know, I was just reading something today about social media, since we're on social media, and just, it can be so good. And like this, I love. And by the way, are my friends on Sarton, are they connected?
He said that he got you up.
Oh, so. Good. So I so appreciate Facebook to be in touch with my friends on my page and have this little community of people that I love. But there's a lot of downside for social media for kids.
Oh, so much.
And so much to be aware of. But even though those problems seem so daunting to us, if you look back through history, other parents in other eons of history have had similar challenges. And it's not been easy ever. So that ancient wisdom really applies. And we love digging into that. We love other things too, like we love brain science. I believe that what we're learning about the brain now only magnifies the glory of God and how amazingly, how wonderfully and fearfully we are made. And so we enjoy sharing those things because that's the other thing. We believe God has created us to heal. He's created us to be whole in Him. And so that's what we're after, and that's what we're enjoying sharing and starting to build a community there, thanks to you and all of the help that you're bringing us. Grady's over there helping behind the scenes.
The producer, our producer.
Can I just tell you a little behind-the-scenes story about our podcast?
Sure.
So before you and I had our conversation, I was researching, okay, what are the best microphones? What are the best lights? How do you set up an office that you take your office from office to podcast studio? And so right now in my little spare bedroom, I have all this equipment I was buying up that I had no idea how to use. I couldn't even figure out how to get you, my friends, on Facebook today when I was trying to link to KTSY. Anyway, I had all this, and I was just feeling so overwhelmed. Like, how am I going to do this? And then you came along, and then Grady came along, and now it gives us the freedom to spend more time just enjoying the research and the time we spend preparing to do the podcast and not worrying about those things. And what a blessing. Thank you so much for that.
It's a home that heals.
Yeah,
it's
home that heals, which can be kind of challenging.
A home that heals. It's all on all the major podcast sites. We're going to be starting doing it on video soon as well, so you can watch it on YouTube and that kind of stuff. So, by the way, again, we are here. We got the chat open. So if you want to comment, if you want to talk, we'd love to say hey or see what you're up to during this lunch hour. Dee, thank you for coming and hanging out with me.
Oh, thank you for letting me do it, and thank you for this week because you've been such an inspiration, along with the whole team, of really helping us realize how our dollars that we invest in KTSY, how those dollars are really being used as an effective tool for the good news.
Thank you. I think it's easy to look at someone like Dee, at least it is for me, who has had so much impact in her life and has been given a gift of a platform. And it's easy to say, okay, she can move people, she can do a podcast, she can go on a Facebook Live and have an impact. And it's awesome. But I don't have that, and I don't have a lot of money. I'm not like the lady who just gave $10,000 and then $5,000, and that's not me, and all of that. Here's the thing that I believe very, very deeply. All of us are called to this moment in history. There's a reason that you were born. There's a reason that you're here, and you have a beautiful impact in the world. And so for some, it's giving, and you're a part of a community that's KTSY. For some, it's going to be, there's one of the stories that we were just telling recently is someone who saw one of the KTSY yard signs, and they started listening, and that's been their journey of faith. That's their beginning journey of faith coming into Jesus.
Sign.
From the KTSY I Choose Heart. You have more impact than you can ever imagine. Your gift, whether it's small or big, financial or otherwise, is huge. You don't have to be Dee Sarton. God's given her a platform and her opportunities, but they're neither greater nor less than the opportunities that you have.
So true.
And you are honored and highly favored. Zephaniah says that God dances over you with singing. I want you to just soak in that for a second, that this morning when you woke up, God did a jig. He was excited about you.
Oh,
and
that's beautiful.
That's what the whole essence of all that we've been talking about this week. And sometimes it gets a little over the top because we're excited and we're counting down to goals because we see the dollars and what needs to be done. But all of it just comes back to that message and that hope and that reality. You are loved and highly favored by God. He wants to be with you. And He's got an amazing plan of how you're going to impact people's lives. Might be up front, might be behind the scenes. Doesn't matter. It's real. It's important and it's valuable, just like you are. So thank you. Dee, thanks for hanging with me.
Oh, thank you for letting me. It's so fun to be with you guys. So fun to be in this atmosphere. And along the lines of what you're saying, to realize the prayer warriors that are out there praying through every minute of this exciting celebration and seeing the fruit that brings. So, yeah, thank you.
Have a great afternoon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you later.